We're talking about solving quadratic equations by completing the square, and we want to use that process to write quadratic functions in vertex form. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of our c value on the right-hand side of the equation. So we're going to add 48 to both sides, and we're going to assume that the left side is 0. So we add 48 to both sides of the equation, and then we get 48 is equal to negative 2x squared minus 20x. And then we're going to have to figure out what our c value will be. So we're going to have to add some c value to both sides of the equation. In order to find the c value, the first thing is we notice that our a value here is negative 2. So we got to factor a negative 2 out of the left side of the equation. So 48 is equal to negative 2. So if you factor negative 2 here, x squared divided by negative 2x squared divided by negative 2 is just x squared. Negative 20x divided by negative 2 is just positive 10x. And then we still have the c value that we're going to add to both sides of the equation. Next, what we do is we got to figure out what that c value is exactly. So c is going to be equal to whatever our b value is divided by 2 and then squared. In this case, our b value is from inside this trinomial here, which is going to be 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So now we have to think about what exactly is happening here. So we're adding 25 inside this parentheses, but now we have to distribute the negative 2 to figure out what we're actually adding to the right side. So negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times 10x is negative 20x. And negative 2 times 25 is negative 50. So actually what we added is a negative 50 to both sides. Now we can rewrite our equation. And the reason that we did all that is so we could get our perfect square binomial. So on the left side, negative 50 plus 48 is negative 2. Negative 2 is equal to negative 2. And then we got our binomial. Only thing that's going to get us x squared is going to be x times x. And then whatever we squared here to figure out what we're adding, that goes into our perfect square. And now we can rewrite it as negative 2 is equal to negative 2 times x plus 5 quantity squared. In order to get in vertex form, we want to have the left side equal to 0. So we have negative 2, so we're actually going to add 2 to both sides. And then we'll represent this with a y equals negative 2 times x plus 5 quantity squared plus 2. And then our vertex form is y equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k, where hk is our vertex. So our vertex, we can write it over here. Remember, the k value is straightforward, and that represents our y portion of the vertex. So that's going to be 2. And our x value is backwards because of that negative. So we see positive 5 in the equation, but really it's backwards, so it's going to be negative 5. So that's our vertex. And this is our vertex form of the equation. Then we have another example, 13, and we want to do the same thing. We need to get our get rid of our C value on the right side here, so we'll subtract 7. And then we get negative 7 is equal to 5x squared plus 10x. And we're going to have to figure out what our C value is that we're going to add to both sides. Issue here is we have a 5 as our lead coefficient, so we have to get rid of that. So we're going to have to factor that out. So on the left side, we still have that minus 7. And we're going to factor that 5 out. So 5x squared divided by 5 is x squared. And 10x divided by 5 is 2x. And then we still have that value that we're adding. Now we have to calculate our C value. So our C value is going to be equal to our B value divided by 2 squared. And our B value in this case is 2. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. That quantity squared is equal to 1. So again, we have to think about what that actually means. So yes, we are adding 1 inside this trinomial, but we have that 5 out front that's going to be multiplied. So 5 times 5x squared is 5x squared. 5 times 2x is 10x. And 5 times 1 is 5. So we've actually added 5 to the right side. So we have to add 5 to the left side as well. Next thing is we can rewrite our equation. So 5 minus 7 is negative 2. We still have the 5 out front, and then we want to get our binomial. Only thing that we'll get x squared is going to be x times x. And this is the other portion right here. So we're going to add 1, other portion of our binomial. We have perfect square binomial, so then we get negative 2 is equal to 5 times x plus 1 quantity squared. And we want to get 0 on the left side, so we're going to add 2 and add 2. And we'll represent this left side with y equals 5 times x plus 1 quantity squared plus 2. And then same thing, we're looking for our vertex. We have it in vertex form, but now we have to pick out our vertex of hk. So our vertex, that is going to be equal to, remember, the easiest one to pick out is our k value, because that's straightforward. So that's our k value, which is right there, which is going to be positive 2. And our x value is backwards from what it looks like in the equation because of that negative sign. So it looks like positive 1, but really it's backwards, so it's going to be negative 1. So there's our vertex. And here's our equation in vertex form.